Hey guys, this is Alex, and welcome to the Two Dudes Brews and Reviews podcast. On today's episode, we're reviewing the 2021 sci-fi epic film Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve. If you like what you hear, consider subscribing to the podcast and maybe even tell your friends about us. With that being said, we hope you enjoy the show.
White people, calling all white people.
Oh, we're live right now.
I'm just talking to you, really, but yeah.
You seem to call me that a lot right now.
Yeah.
I know it's the winter and everything, but
You're extra white right now.
I am the pastiest motherfucker alive.
Been a while since we sat down, man.
A lot's happened.
Yeah, I went on vacation, had a good time.
Where'd you go? Tell the people.
Key West. It was really warm, and the weather was great. It rained but for like maybe 10 minutes one day. I got super effed up. One night, I was definitely the most fucked up person in Key West.
You kept me pretty updated on your state.
Super updated.
I was getting drunk selfies, videos of you doing karaoke.
Yeah, it wasn't even like, ooh, dude.
You just try the beer?
Yeah. Sorry. Your tongue will feel that one. It's definitely aged. It's different than we had it last time.
I feel like the boozy taste is stronger now
Yeah.
than it used to be.
Mm-hmm. So we're drinking Bourbon County. This is the bottle that I kept from last year. It's a bourbon barrel-aged stout. And this is the 2020 bottle, and I bought it last year before Christmas, and we saved one bottle, and this is a year old.
The first appearance since we did Abbey Road.
Really? Was that the last time we did it?
Yes.
Wow. Damn, that was a long time ago, dude.
I've been wanting to bring this one back for a while. I can't remember what episode specifically I wanted to do it on, but I think Dune is a good one to bring back a pretty epic and fancy beer.
It's epic.
How you feeling about
slow
that?
Sipper, dude.
Oh, yeah?
It's definitely more pungent than it was last time. Last time it was a lot smoother, I remember.
It was. I think I like it better now, though.
Really?
I like when it's got a little bit of kick.
It tastes like apple wood. I'm getting a lot more like woodsy notes. Like a lot of cherry.
I just remember the last time, the flatness of it. Like I was expecting so much more carbonation. It's a little deceiving. This is more well-rounded to me.
Kind of tastes like a cigar. I'm not going to lie to you. Very tobacco.
We have another bottle, the 2021 edition of it, Cherry Wood, which I don't know how long I'm going to keep that on the shelf till we, pop it out.
This is definitely less sweet than it was last time. Last time I remember it being a lot more, like more vanilla, more caramel. I thought when we opened it would taste exactly the same as it did last year, but can you imagine what this would taste like in 5 years? Like, whoosh.
Oh, man. I don't know if anything like that would stay on the shelf for 5 years in this house.
No, not in your house. Dude, I still have like a bottle of Monkey Shoulder in the pantry, like almost completely full.
I feel like you have like quite a few things, don't you?
It's scotch.
Don't you have some of that Bulliet shit still?
I still have some rye left. No, maybe I drank that all. I don't know. It's been a while since I opened that cabinet.
Oh, man.
I think for a while there I was making like old fashions and shit at home. Or no, I was just drinking Coke and rye. Yeah.
Classic.
Much better than Jack and Coke. Rye,
Oh, yeah.
Rye's got more of like an herbal taste to it for whiskey, and it complements well with Coke because Coke kind of has like that underlying herbal taste.
I feel like Jack Daniels doesn't have much of a character on its own. It tastes like rubbing alcohol to me.
Oh, dude, I'm cracking a Miller. Woo, man.
You can't do it?
It's just super. I wish it was sweeter. I'm not a huge fan.
We'll keep it around.
How the tides have turned, or the tables. What the fuck am I talking about?
I think either of those can apply.
Oh, well. But yeah, vacation was fun. Am I missing anything else? Like, what? I mean, has anything in the world of Getter been any different?
Well, my wife got me a PS5 for Christmas, so I have not advanced in life at all since I've had it.
Hell yeah.
I'm playing it every fucking night, and like I'm not even a big gamer, but I am right now.
Yes. You're playing through Demon Souls.
I have to
which
beat
is not
Demon
even
Souls.
Not even your type of game.
It is now.
Good. You're one of us now.
Yeah.
I've never played Demon Souls, but I've played through the Dark Souls games, and like this is exciting to see someone like come out of series like that for the first time.
I like that the game beats me instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
Most games are too easy, so
yeah.
I like the challenge.
And the art style, super dark, grim. It's the best.
Looks great on the PlayStation 5.
It's in a good adult game for sure.
Uh-huh.
Definitely rewarding. Well, excuse me, besides vacation, I know I had mentioned on the last podcast that I was going into vacation like ready to read the rest of Dune because it's like obviously it's our topic for tonight's episode, but I don't know why I thought that I was going to get anything accomplished on vacation because I literally was inebriated. I was pulling like the another round, fucking .05 at all given times at a minimum. Like it was.
If you're not like that on vacation, then you're doing it wrong.
I will say though, I wish it was about 5 days instead of like we had 3 nights and 4 days, and I wish it was about 4 nights and 5 days because I really needed a break in the middle of it just to relax, and we were kind of like nonstop go, and so vacation was like a big energy sucker out of me. I really wanted a day to just like sleep in late and like relax and like get out by the pool and read a book, but that didn't happen. Like we always had to be somewhere, and I was just like, man, fuck this shit. It was a good time, though.
Didn't even spend much time on the beach.
No, like an hour and a half, maybe.
To be honest, I kind of hate the beach.
I fucking hate the beach.
I don't blame you.
I fucking hate the beach. I hate sand. It's coarse. It gets all over.
Damn it, I was wanting to make that joke during the fucking movie review.
Oh, well, you still can. All right. Anyway, yeah, we're doing Dune. Yeah, I was definitely like really excited to like see what you would take away from this film. Like, obviously, I've been reading it, and I got significantly farther than where I started before on vacation. I ended up reading the whole way flight home, so I got like another 150 pages under my belt, and so I'm past where the film ends. And this is something I wanted to talk to you about specifically because when I watched the movie for the first time in theaters, the movie opens up with the title and then is like part 1, and I was like, motherfucker.
It wasn't advertised that way.
It was not, and I'm like, I was super frustrated by that. I mean, obviously, I didn't let it ruin my movie-going experience, but I knew that I would be semi-disappointed in as far as like the time constraint because I want more after the film ends. I want more. I feel like I'm just at the tip of the iceberg. And that's something that other reviewers have shared the same sentiment.
It's going to be hard to judge it just on its own. And when this came out, part 2 wasn't even like greenlit yet. They weren't sure.
I know.
Especially because this was released during, like, you know, a part of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Not that many people going out to theaters, really. I think it made, like, $40 million in the box office in the United States. And then, like, worldwide, about 200-something million.
It also, like, was released simultaneously on HBO. The weekend it came out, it was released, like, it was actually released, like, a Thursday night for, like, the Friday night premiere. Like, so it released on, like, a Thursday night. And I remember, like, we had bought tickets for it on a Saturday night. And I was watching a Twitch streamer, and he was like, anybody else watching Dune tonight on HBO Max? I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I could have just, like, rented HBO Max, but we went and watched it in IMAX. That was an experience.
I feel like that's probably the way the movie's meant to be watched.
It was fucking beautiful and riveting, and my central nervous system was shocked beyond belief, like, taking in all that sound, and the screen was humongous, and definitely the way to see a movie like this. Actually, the weekend... or like the week following delivering pizzas, I like saw like 2 customers watching the film on their TV, and I was like, you motherfuckers are missing out.
I watched it at home.
Yes.
You know, I didn't get to see it in theaters, so I guess I missed out too.
My favorite part about it in the theaters was just like some of the wider shots, obviously like the IMAX shot, and then the soundtrack was like great to listen to in theaters because it was like,
I'm sure
the fucking tribal energy was shaking the shit out of my chair.
The director of this movie, how do you pronounce his name again? Denis
Villeneuve, apparently. Other people call him Denis Villeneuve. I don't know how you pronounce it.
I've heard it many ways.
Yes, but let's just say that guy. He's also directed some of my other favorite films. Might be my favorite director right now.
Modern day.
Yeah.
He's pretty up there.
He's in my top 3. I've got him, Nolan, and probably Tarantino as like my favorite directors. Mostly just because I can recognize their style. I mean, there are other directors I like, but those are like my 3 breadwinners. But he also did Sicario, which I hold that film in like my top 10
of all time.
I fucking love that movie. I like it better than Prisoners, actually.
I need to watch it again because I really love Prisoners.
I watched Prisoners when I was like 14 or 15, I think, or whenever it came out, and I watched it with my family, and it like fucked me up a little bit.
It's a very depraved movie. It gets pretty dark.
Yeah, like they're fucking giving those little girls like lean in like a 2-liter bottle. Like it's just some weird shit. The intensity of that movie is pretty shocking to like an adolescent.
It's weird because like those earlier 2010s movies like Prisoners, Sicario, Enemy, which I don't think you've seen.
I've never seen that, no.
Very strange movie. Ever since then, starting with...
Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
Yeah, okay. He's in it.
Plays himself twice, but yeah.
Yes. Ever since Arrival, he's locked into this sci-fi mode right now.
Because he did Arrival, and then after that he did Blade Runner 2049, which is also one of my favorite films.
Haven't seen that one yet.
You'll get to it eventually. He's easily become one of my favorite directors. Honestly, it kind of feels like a natural progression of his style in a way. Like, I'm sure I can kind of deduct going backwards and to see what his style would be like. I can already kind of picture what type of movie Enemy is, the way it's shot, and then like moving into Prisoners and then Sicario. He kind of like has like this slow roll, the way the movies are cut. You have like a scene and your characters are moving through it, and then a sequence that could last like easily 15 minutes, he makes like 3 seconds where he's showing you like these, they could be like still frame paintings.
Yes.
And you're cutting through those super fast. And that's the way Sicario is, in my opinion. Like Sicario, the way that movie's cut, obviously it has like its long, drawn-out shots, but then it also has like these slight cinematic, environmental, landscape shots. There are a few in that movie that are very similar to Dune, because that movie's shot in Mexico. And then Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 go hand in hand with that sci-fi, big set, big budget, cinematography, that fucking budget's through the roof. So he's easily my favorite just because, first off, we don't get that many sci-fi movies anymore. I mean, anything out of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like the closest we get to like big budget sci-fi, but that's just because they go to space now.
Yeah.
That and fucking Fast and Furious, if you want to call that sci-fi.
Are you going to get your Final Furious movie?
I'm telling you, dude, that's what they're going to fucking name it.
With Dune, he's taken on a pretty big fucking task. They've tried to adapt this at least 2 or 3 times before this.
So David Lynch,
another like visionary director,
he did that, and it was like an early work of his.
And it bombed.
Bad.
And it got bad reviews.
And there's also like a sci-fi miniseries, like the television network Sci-Fi. There's a miniseries of that, and I know that's actually kind of like regarded as one of the favorites from the fans. I've been doing my Reddit digging for this film, but I'm reading the novel right now. And let me tell you, it's so long that you kind of forget what's happened since the beginning. Like, it's like this epic. I mean, the book is like, it's fucking thick. It's like 600 pages, and then it has like a fucking glossary, like index in the back, and like it has like a fucking dictionary for the fucking... And it's weird. Like, I've gotten past the part where the movie ends. Now that like the book has like opened up like this world to me that like I'm ready to experience on the big screen, but I'm also like nervous for that to come.
Like, can it be done right?
The book is in a pace like similar to the movie, like pretty fast. Like some shit goes pretty fast, and like obviously a book isn't like restrained to like time, and like you don't have to feel like you're moving scene by scene. You kind of are like broken into chapters and like much more dialogue and character driven. It's super rich and super dense, but I think this movie did a pretty good job. And I know you don't have that frame of reference to look at. There are other people that don't feel that way. Like, some people think that this probably shouldn't have been made, and it kind of feels like a watered down version of it, in which it does. There's like some shit missing. Like, you could have broke the first book up into 4 movies. Like, it's very dense.
Oh my God.
Like, there are like scenes that aren't in the film that are like pivotal to like character development. The book is written in a way where you're getting the thoughts of like each individual character.
I know there's like an inner monologue, and the Lynch version supposedly tried to do justice to that, but I guess it ended up being kind of goofy.
Probably. And I don't have any reference. I've only seen like special effects shots from that film, and they're goofy as fuck.
Yes, I've seen them too. The shields, man.
The shields. It's really like fucking Roblox people. Like, it's weird. I mean, that's something that I think this film really tackled. Obviously, like modern day technology. Our special effects that we can achieve now are like leaps and bounds above what they could achieve back then. Like, that movie used like a lot of practical effects that were like impossible to shoot at the time. Enough of me. I want to know your thoughts. Like, so you get that first viewing. You knew nothing about the movie before you walked into it. Like, I had tried to read the book once, and I like had known the lore a little bit before I stepped into it. So
I knew absolutely nothing except for it involved spice as like a resource. And I didn't even know what Dune was until last year. Never heard about the novel.
Yeah.
Apparently it's like the blueprint for
Star Wars
and like every other fucking big franchise, apparently.
Did you find it confusing?
Very. Well, at times. I made a huge mistake, to be honest. The first night that I watched it, I had been hanging out with a buddy beforehand. We had some beers. I came home, cracked open more beers, and then started the movie. This is not a movie to watch drunk.
No, because it's super dialogue heavy and like you're going to miss things.
Now, like previous nights before that, I've been having a lot of fun getting drunk, and I'm going through like Tarantino's filmography right now.
Those are good movies to drink too.
Yeah, they're total schlock, just fucking violence and amazing dialogue and stuff. So I did a disservice by watching it drunk. I actually stopped it about an hour and a half through because I was like, I'm not in the right mindset to watch this right now.
Do you know where it ended? Where did you stop it the first time? Like what scene?
It was like almost before, what are they called? The Harkonnens, like invaded.
Okay, so it was like probably right before that?
Yeah.
Oh man, the movie picks up after that.
Shit hadn't hit the fan yet. Now, I enjoyed it a lot more on my second viewing. The good news is I liked it. The bad news is I don't think I'm anywhere close to loving it.
Oh, for sure. And this is something that I actually is probably my same sentiment. Like I like it because it's ambitious and I love the special effects and I'm like really interested in like the world and like obviously I'm reading the book right now, so like this is like visual accompaniment
It's a hard word to say. Just
accompaniment or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Words, dialogue, vocabulary. But yeah, it feels like a visual novel to like accompany. Like it helps really get my brain working when I'm reading. Like it helps fill in the blanks a little bit. Because like even the book is super dense and hard to read. Like I wasn't able to read it until after I watched the movie because being able to hear people say all these terms. So you have like the Atreides family, and then you have the Harkonnens, and then you have like the Sardaukar, which are like the Emperor's soldiers. And like this is something that doesn't really get set up because I know Lynch's film, they
do
do
the whole book. Yeah.
And you get to see the end.
in less time than this movie does.
I guess it does feel kind of incomplete, and obviously it should. I mean, it's half the fucking book, but like I wish they would already be releasing the second movie like this summer. You know what I mean? Like it would
needs
be slotted.
it needs a quick follow-up. 2023 is apparently when we're getting it.
I believe so. It's probably like holiday 23 or something like that, or close to it, November or something. But you know, like this movie had been delayed multiple times. Like it was supposed to come out at the end of 2021, or no, excuse me, end of 2020. And I was super hyped for it back then, and then it got delayed because we couldn't watch everything in theaters. So, you know, I mean, the movies had time to settle. Hell, they should have fucking greenlit the second one, but obviously, like, studios are running slim right now. Did you enjoy the character development at all? Like, did you feel, specifically, like, Jessica and Paul?
Not really.
Okay.
We'll definitely get into it.
Tell me what you do like.
I think this is visually the most impressive movie I've ever seen. I've heard a lot of great things about the Blade Runner that he did a couple years ago. For a lot of the movie is like these establishing shots of just like beautiful scenery. Like, what's the planet they come from originally?
Caladan.
The ships coming in and like landing. It's definitely the best special effects I've ever seen. I was really impressed by that. It was just like the spectacle of it all. And that's what drew me in.
For sure. It's tough because it is half of the book. I know, like, Paul is supposed to, like, fucking awaken. You know what I mean? Like, he's supposed to, like, fulfill the prophecy by the end of the next film. My favorite thing about it is I enjoyed the politics of it. And not so much, like, I'm intrigued by, you know, Timothée Chalamet's performance or anything, or, like, I'm not super attached to, like, the characters. Because I can do that in the book. Like, the book is definitely more fulfilling in that way. Like, this movie, yes, is very visually appealing. That was one of the things I said when I went and watched the film. It was like around Thanksgiving, I believe. And we had Thanksgiving dinner, like, close to it. I think I watched it, like, on a Saturday night with Elizabeth, and I think we did Thanksgiving dinner, like, with one of our families that Sunday. It was, like, the week before Thanksgiving. And someone asked me what I thought about it. I said, I loved it. It's very political and, like, very slow because I really liked the betrayal aspect of it.
I loved that stuff too. The only thing is I wanted a little bit more info about like who these people are. I'm gonna have a whole lot of trouble like with the names of stuff. I know like the Harkonnens are the one, like the nasty ass.
They are fucking gross looking, right?
Oh, like the Baron is absolutely repulsive. And then there's
the Atreides, like
Atreides.
Yes.
I felt like I didn't understand what each of them really stood for. Like I knew the Harkonnens were kind of like the harvesters. They're like stripping this planet of all of its natural resources. With the other house, I didn't really know who they were.
And that's something that even in the novels that isn't really super touched upon.
Really?
So here's what you need to know. There's the Atreides house, and this is super confusing for like even myself. Like, I mean, it's hard for even me to digest, but like there's the Atreides house, there's the Harkonnen house, and then there's other houses in the Imperium.
But we don't hear about them in this movie, right?
No, not until like the very beginning, kind of like briefly touches upon it, like when they sign over Arrakis to the Atreides house. So Gadi Prime is the homeworld of the Harkonnens, and they're rich and wealthy because they've controlled Arrakis. And then there's the Emperor, which is like only mentioned by name, like in the film. We don't get like an image of him or anything.
There's no like role.
He's kind of like an ominous figure looming over, which will be touched upon, I'm sure, in part 2. And there are other characters in the book that aren't even in this movie that play a pivotal role in the ending of the book. So they'll be brought in later.
But you have like the Emperor, but isn't the Bene Gesserit, or however you say it, like kind of above him? Even?
No, so
or they influence what the Emperor does?
They are like treat them like factions, right? They're all kind of under this Imperium, like the Guild,
and they're supposed to be united, probably.
Yes,
right.
Think of it as like a galactic empire, right? There are like these smaller factions of people. I mean, think about like Star Wars, for example. Like there's different planets with different species, like different, and they play different roles, and they're whatever. It's the same thing in this, but Arrakis, the reason why it has importance is because the spice runs the thing. And this is something that doesn't get touched upon in the movie really at all. The way space travel is handled in the movie, like there isn't just like ships flying around all over the place. Like the Guild has a monopoly on space travel. Like everything has to be approved by, treated like one big company, fucking Microsoft, and like then you have like subsidiaries of like Xbox, and you know what I mean. It's just one big fuck fest. All right. So the spice like controls everything. People are addicted to it. It's like a drug. The way space travel is handled, like people navigate space through spice. People consume much spice that they become like non-human, which like isn't shown visually at all.
It's all given in like a narration at the beginning of the movie. Like you get like one line that tells you all this. But I guess they don't have time to really go too much farther into it.
It's tough. Like it's a tough movie to digest, let alone like dive deeper into. Which is like something I like hard movies. I mean, this is a hard movie to watch, like and find enjoyment out of.
It doesn't hold your hand. I like movies that treat you like an adult. This one kind of treats you like an expert. Like,
yeah, I can see what you mean. I compare it to like listening to Radiohead for the first time. Like it takes a while to like get interested and like pick out what you like. Because at first you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Well, you sent me that that fucking meme
that was
about
a great
them.
Meme. Elizabeth sent me that.
Apparently the director of this movie loves Radiohead. He used their music in Prisoners.
Culture. Fucking Johnny Greenwood or something. Or just songs in general.
No, just a fan of the band.
Oh,
apparently.
Like, I thought you meant like he put a song in Prisoners.
Oh, no, it was like a Radiohead track was placed in that.
Okay.
Johnny Greenwood does all the music for Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
That's right. Did Licorice Pizza probably, I'm sure.
All of them since There Will Be Blood.
Great movie you've never seen. I've never seen Punch Drunk Love, though. I watched like half of it, and I was like, this is weird as fuck.
It's a very strange movie.
But yeah, like the spice, it controls the galaxy, bro. That's what they want. That's what everybody fights over. Man, you like really don't even get to like... My favorite part about the film, or like about the world in general, is like the Fremen. The Fremen are cool as fuck.
That's the stuff I was interested in the most, for sure.
Which sucks is like you only get like 40 minutes of it at the end.
With the promise of the next movie maybe exploring that a whole lot more.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's kind of like with them at that point.
Like I'm in that point in the novel where like it's like very expansive and like you're getting more information.
It's hard to skirt around because there's so much stuff here. And I found myself a little frustrated. What I was watching was really good, but I kept waiting for that moment where the movie started to click with me, where I was like really emotionally invested. 45 minutes went by and I was like, I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. And then like an hour and 45 passes and I'm like, not there yet. And then the movie ended. I think it has something to do with Denis' way of... His movies are very cold.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of a very specific scene where I know another director would handle it probably a lot differently. And that's the scene, well, there's two scenes actually, is where the Harkonnens invade and when Duncan Idaho dies. Duncan Idaho actually plays like a lesser role in the book.
Really?
Him and Paul are not like as buddy-buddy. Gurney Halleck actually plays like a bigger role.
He was pretty scant in this one.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin's character.
In this scene specifically where Josh Brolin playing Gurney Halleck, fucking tremendous actor. When they like run into battle, I know another director would like try to make you feel more in that moment. I mean, I definitely like felt a little bit like on my viewing today, like when the fucking bagpipes kick in and when they're running into battle and like Josh Brolin's fucking like excited, stoic smile, like having his troops up, like they're all like in their fucking pajamas. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is fucking dope. But then like, you know, he's gone, you know, like that scene ends and it's like, I know another director would probably
Play up the epicness of the battle, I guess.
and like that battle, like it is super cool. Like there's a bunch of special effects going around. Like all these like missiles being fired off and like sand being spewed up and these ornithopter vehicles that everybody flies around in are getting shot out of the air and the missile dropping down into like that ship and it breaks the shield. Like that was a cool fucking explosion because like the explosion's encased in that shield.
It looked amazing.
But I know another director would be like, all right, we got to go in here. We got to make people cry. We got to like see all these people die. And like they kind of feel like toy soldiers in a way. You're not really super attached to like the army that's being fighting or whatever. And then when Duncan Idaho dies, I know another director would handle that differently. Might have something to do with Hans Zimmer having like control of the score. Jesus Christ, this fucking beer's light me up. The score, it always is upbeat, very tribal, a lot of like drums, chanting, and like whelping from these like women singers.
It's like spirituality meets the military.
Yeah. So there's never like these somber moments of like downbeat swells, and there aren't these like moments that like help pull on your heartstrings. It's like very, this is what's happening. And
It's
like
pretty matter of fact. Yeah.
Again, it's very cold. It doesn't help create much emotional tension, right?
Yeah. I feel like when I had heard about this movie, people were saying that it's like, it's a sci-fi epic. It's the next big franchise. Like,
I probably was one that shut that shit in your ear.
I think you were. Yeah. It was a different movie than I was expecting. Because when I hear
sure.
big epic, I'm thinking like
Battles.
Lord of the Rings type stuff. Like, there's kind of a sense of wonder and joy occasionally. And this movie has almost no joy. It's not fun.
And this is something that I think will age better with time. And once the second film releases, and I know like we're coming at it from this perspective, and there are probably other people like screaming like, shut the fuck up, you don't know what you're talking about. But I remember the first Lord of the Rings really isn't that exciting. I mean, there are great shots and like the filmmaking's incredible, but like not a whole lot happens in the Fellowship of the Ring. I know you've never seen those, but like the fun of that trilogy happens in the second and third one. Like you know what I mean? Like they're super dense. Like hell, the fucking extended editions of those movies are all 3.5 hours long. I mean, like, or more, like 4 hours long. And like I love them when I watch them, but like I guess it's easier to watch them because you can like watch all three of them in a week or whatever, and like you can be enveloped. But now we've got to wait like a year and a half to watch the second film because like in the Fellowship of the Ring, the movie ends with them creating the Fellowship. Like they don't even set up off on the journey yet. Like they don't even like, you know what I mean? They don't even take the ring to fucking Mordor yet. Like so it is comparable, but not yet.
I'm interested in the second one. I'll definitely see it when it comes out. But like I guess it's hard to review half a story.
Yes,
Just
exactly.
the way it's laid out right here.
Since we can't really like put a whole synopsis on it, do you want to hop into? We can talk about scenes specifically that are pretty important. At the beginning of the film, it's kind of established that you know they're going to Arrakis, and the Bene Gesserit come to Caladan. It's like established in the film that Jessica, his mother, is a Bene Gesserit witch or whatever. Like she's part of this faction or whatever. And the whole point of the Bene Gesserit, like they control bloodlines. And like they try, I mean, it's kind of established that they're trying to bring upon what's called like the Kwisatz Haderach or whatever it's called. And
yeah, I'm not going to try and
it's like
say that.
basically like a messiah, like a male that can harness the powers of the Bene Gesserit, which it's kind of established in like one of the first shots.
Well, they want a woman.
Yes. Well, Jessica bred a son, which is like a no-no to the Bene Gesserit because men are not supposed to have Bene Gesserit powers. So she taught him like the ways of the Bene Gesserit. Like even the book doesn't even really go into that. Like it's kind of just like an established thing. You're hopped into it.
Doesn't she only have a boy because the dad wanted a son?
The Duke wants a son to take his throne, like take his heir.
Yes.
Otherwise, the daughter would have to marry into power, have to marry us, and he would be yada yada yada. Which the Duke is played by Oscar Isaacs. Fucking awesome.
The man with the best beard
I've
so ever seen.
Fucking good, dude. Elizabeth was joking after the movie that like Oscar Isaac was more hot than Timothée Chalamet in the movie.
I would say that's coming from a male standpoint. It's undeniable.
He's a good looking dude.
Very. What else is he in? I am not familiar with him like whatsoever.
He plays Poe Dameron in like the most recent Star Wars trilogy. He's also in Ex Machina, which is a great performance by him in that movie. You've never seen. I fucking love that movie. I know you love that movie. Fucking love that movie.
Is he like a sci-fi mainstay?
He might be. He was in a couple other things recently, but I don't remember what they were. I think he played more of like a slice of life drama.
He seems real good. Like I kind of wanted more of him in this movie.
We'll get to my favorite scene with him. Obviously, we'll get there. But so the Bene Gesserit, they're gonna test Paul, and you get kind of like this famous scene of what's called the Gom Jabbar. There's so much fucking like dense fucking dialogue, like vocabulary in this film. But it's like this green box that Paul has to like put his hand in. It's like to test him. And the whole point of like, there's no computers, right? You never notice there's any computers. Like in the world of Dune, there are no robots because there was like a robot war that happened like in the timeline before this. Like,
so they're kind of banned.
They're banned, yeah. And like all like space travel, like how I said, like the navigators that like they consume spice to navigate space, and so it's like a no. Like there's no computers.
That's why they need those guys that roll their eyes in the back of their head.
Yeah.
I had to look on the internet for some of this information to be filled in.
Thafir Hawat is the they're called oh Jesus Christ.
Like a Mentat?
A Mentat, sorry. Even the Harkonnen has one, the skinnier guy with like the black lip.
He played Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad movie.
He also is the one of the inmates from Arkham in The Dark Knight. He's the guy that Harvey Dent takes in the back of the ambulance.
Really?
Yeah.
He was in like 3 or 4 movies I've watched recently.
Really?
He's an Ant-Man too.
What?
He's like Paul Rudd's like Russian buddy or something.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, so like super dense. The whole point is to test him because he can't inherit that power if he's not capable of wielding it. So what they do is like nerve pain, which isn't like really shown to you until after the fact, but Paul has to put his hand in this box or she's going to kill him if he removes it. It's supposed to feel like his hand's on fire. The movie kind of does a good job of showing that. And like there's these burning palm trees, like kind of like these flashing images of like scorch and like sand, and you even get like an image of a hand that ends up being like charred in a way, like a CGI hand that ends up getting charred. And then also you get to see like the first few instances of the voice, which is like something I think this movie handled really well, which was like a criticism of the original Lynch film.
I like how it was displayed here when it's used on old Timmy Tim.
And it was really smart. And I think Variety or like GQ, actually, I don't remember which. You can find this video on YouTube, but it's Denis Villeneuve. He's actually breaking down this scene for you for like over the next 15 minutes, and he like kind of frames it in his mind and everything. It's really interesting how you're getting Paul's perspective of having the voice used on him, because in the scene prior you get to see him try to use it on his mother to like hand him the glass of water, which he doesn't really do all the way. But then you get to see from his perspective, it's like almost like that time didn't exist. Like she says, come here.
And he just ends up knelt before her.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that a lot.
Really smart. I love the way this scene's framed in like this dark library. The way her face is veiled with like that net, that mesh netting across her face. Like you don't even really get to. Denis Villeneuve actually broke it down in that interview saying like, she was originally supposed to pull her veil back, but he said that he thought like her almost like glossy, glassy eyes like peering through that veil was like even more impactful.
It makes her more intimidating.
Ominous,
Yeah.
Helps create that sense of tension and unknown.
What is this character's name?
I don't know. I think she's just referred to as the Reverend Mother.
She has some of the best lines of dialogue. I'm going to keep referring to Timothée Chalamet as fucking Timmy Tim.
Yeah,
you said it once, now it's stuck with me. He's got his hand in the box, and she's got the needle up to his neck. And she says, like, an animal will gnaw through its leg to get out of a trap. What will you do?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't really need to say much, but, like, what she does say kind of, like, really hits you hard.
Mm-hmm. This is a really good scene. And then after, like, the test is done, she says, like how you sift sand through a screen, we have to sift through humans.
And he could have just fucking died if he wasn't ready.
Yeah, she was going to kill him. It kind of like shows you the stakes of like how important Paul's character is. Again, like you don't really get to see him come to full fruition yet, and you're kind of left with more mystery than, otherwise intended. But I think this scene in particular kind of shows you the importance of Paul's character. She even says, like, when they're going back to the ship in the rain or whatever outside, she said, like, his sight has barely been opened, and now he's about to be thrown into the fire. The path has been laid for him on Arrakis. Let's hope he doesn't squabble it. Also, you get to see Jessica's character have to, like, tame her fear.
Well, they reiterate the same line of dialogue a few times. Like, fear is the mind killer.
Yes, and that's, like, written all over the book. They're like super reliant on humans. You cannot have like this machine help. Like it's very like they're trying to strengthen humanity in a way by reiterating these words, and like it's almost like this coping mechanism to deal. Like it creates them to be very robotic. It was really well done because you're getting that voiceover while it's all happening while she's standing outside. And I don't know what this actress's name is. Forgive me, I'm not even going to look it up, but let's just say...
The Lady Jessica
Lady
character?
Jessica. I thought her acting was incredible. The way she was able to use her mannerisms, and like she was constantly shaking her hands in fear.
She was very good, yeah.
I thought she really did a good job of illustrating like her character's fear and worry for her child, but like being able to like turn that on and off throughout the film. I'm like, man, that's fucking incredible acting on her part.
I think the movie does a good job of showing you how powerful this like subset of humans is, because it's only explained in dialogue. But when the Reverend Mother has Timmy Tim's
yeah, good
hand in the box, she says, there's no need to call for the guards, like they won't make it past your mom. And like at this point, this is new information being displayed to me, a Dune virgin basically. She could take out like a whole group of guards on her own,
and you kind of get to see that later on.
You do,
which is super rewarding. But yeah, I love that scene. We get introduced to Paul's character because he's been having dreams of Arrakis, and that's kind of like shown in the first few opening stills of the movie. Like we get to see Chani, which we're just going to refer to as Zendaya, because she plays such a minor role. And it's actually been quoted by Denis Villeneuve that she's kind of going to be more like the main character in the second one. Like I think a lot more things will come through her perspective, which I'm not going to spoil it for you for the reason why. That's just kind of like an interview, which I don't know if the final cut of the movie will end up that way or not, but just to illustrate her importance, like she's a very pivotal and important character, along with Lady Jessica. Paul has these dreams and visions of Arrakis. Even like the Reverend Mother asks, like, do you dream things exactly as you dream them, or do they happen exactly as you dream them? And he goes, not exactly, and they leave.
That plays into the end.
Yeah, things come to him in like this surreal, symbolic way that aren't necessarily true to how he'll perceive them, which is like the whole point of his character. Like he's supposed to bridge space and time, be able to see the past, future, and present as they happen. That plays into the tent scene that happens later in the film. His character, there's like this weight on his shoulder. And like in the novel, he's 15, which I don't know if that necessarily comes across very well in the movie. Like obviously Timothée Chalamet has like a boyish charm to him still. And like he's a little bit more...
I never questioned it for a second.
Really?
No.
Do you think he's like, does he appear young to you?
Very.
I think he appears more like a 17 or an 18-year-old to me.
Well, maybe, but I'm used to a history of 30-year-olds playing high school students and a lot of things.
Fucking Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man type shit.
Exactly. It doesn't faze me.
Okay.
Like, he's fine for this part.
I know he's supposed to be a child, but I'm used to seeing him in adult roles now, to where like I don't really put that like view of boyhood on him as much as I used to. But the movie tries to get it across in a way that like he's just a boy. I want to talk about another scene in particular that I really found kind of touching was when Paul and Duke Leto Atreides, Oscar Isaacs and Timothy are talking out like in this graveyard, which is like his father's grave, and like it kind of plays into like the bull and the matador imagery. Like his grandfather was a matador and he died fighting a bull, which I don't really totally buy into that imagery that I think the movie tries to get off, but
it nails you over the head with it. There's a lot of still shots of a bullhead on like the wall and stuff.
A little metal statue of a bull and a matador. It
plays into it a little bit, but like the movie really hammers that imagery in.
I think it's definitely a style of Denis Villeneuve. Like it's something that I would like is very reminiscent of like the original Blade Runner, like the origami crane. I know you've never seen the original Blade Runner, but like that's like or not an origami crane, but like a unicorn.
Enemy does it too. There's a lot of still shots of spiders in that movie.
So when they're out there in that graveyard, like I love their dialogue. I think it's kind of apparent that Timothée Chalamet is afraid to be the Duke one day. I mean, he's just a kid, obviously.
He's not into the whole imperialistic style of ruling. He kind of shows that rebellion a few times.
Yeah, like even the beginning scene, like his mother says that they're going to be in full dress for like ceremony. He's like, what the fuck? Like he wants to get dressed up. That scene in particular like was very touching because he says like, I didn't want this either. That was a very honest moment between father and son. He was like, I didn't want to be a leader either.
He wanted to be a pilot,
yes,
right?
Which is like in Caladan, they say like they have sea and air power. Like you get to see like they have ships and boats or whatever the fuck. And it's a complete contrast to Arrakis, barren wasteland desert and like full rich greenery, abundance of water. But yeah, he says like maybe you'll find your way to it. And I was like I'm gonna fucking carry that into my fatherhood. Like I'm like, you know what I mean? Like that's some fucking good shit right there.
Were you hoping for more of the father-son stuff? Because I think that scene was nailed pretty well. But overall, I kind of felt like their relationship together was cold outside of that. And it might come from the whole royalty aspect of the movie. Like, everybody's very stoic.
There is a scene in the book that is left out that I found very important to their relationship.
Is it the so-called dinner scene?
Yes.
Okay, I've read about this.
The dinner scene is really good. And it's not so much about like their relationship, but Paul's understanding of the weight of the situation at hand and how like stressed out his father is and how much like the image of the Duke plays a role of like the politics of him. It's like, the president has to say all the right things at all the right times and like to display leadership. It's very similar in that way. Like the dinner scene, like it shows the Duke's inability to not show his control of power. Like he kind of like is losing his authority a little bit, where it kind of feels like he's being tested by all these other characters that are surrounding this dinner table. And Paul, his inner dialogue, he gets to understand the weight of the situation and like the stress put upon his father.
None of that was really shown here. I wasn't sure what kind of leader he was, although I could infer that he was nicer than the Harkonnens.
Yeah.
They wanted to, have peace with the Fremen, at least on the surface. I don't know, like, if the book goes into the politics of what they would do with them.
It does. I think, like, even, like, his father's council and stuff, when they are talking after the hunter-killer drone and all that scene right after, which also is a great scene.
One of my favorites.
We can talk about it right now if you want.
Yeah, I didn't understand how the thing was controlled.
Yes.
Or, like, how it worked. Because it gets up to his eye, and I'm like, okay.
This is a problem that I have with the way this shot is taken about. The whole thing with the hunter-killer drone, it detects movement.
That's why it attacks when the maid comes in.
Yes.
Okay,
and
that makes sense.
You don't have that information, which is why it's frustrating, and I knew you would be confused by that. In the book, it's like, Paul's like, he sees the hunter-killer drone. What's the hunter-killer drone? This is what it is. I'm standing here. It's near my eye. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting that in the book.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's told more eloquently than I just described, but it's a good scene, like, to show the tension between life and death there, but you don't really know what the fuck's going on with that hunter-killer drone. I like the way it's set up, though, at the beginning. Like, Paul's watching, like, these films of Arrakis, like the vegetation, and there's, like, a little mouse down in the shrubs.
In the
and
hologram,
stuff.
yes.
And it shows like the sand walk and all that stuff. Like that's super cool.
You notice that he smiles at the hologram mouse when he's watching it? Mm-hmm. I kind of inferred that like he respected it for being able to live in the desert, like this tiny little thing and the fucking... And then it literally goes on to show you that later in the movie.
Dude, you have no fucking clue.
I'm sure it's
important.
Displayed in the book much better.
Dude, like in the book, Paul is referred to as that creature by the Fremen. That becomes his name in the troop.
Okay, I got the gist of this kind of.
And I want to tell you that because I feel like you'll respect it more. Like why that animal in particular has importance. Like true fans will be like, they're inferring to him.
I kind of got it though, just seeing it visually. When he pops out of the sand and he sees the mouse.
Oh, dude, that shot in IMAX in the theater was amazing. Like, because it filled the screen.
The mouse looks really good too.
Fucking awesome.
This fucking CGI mouse looks real.
Like the moisture on his ears. He reclaims the water into his mouth. I'm like, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah. When I saw it, I knew
it plays importance.
Paul is like the mouse. He's
Yes.
like fucking helpless.
Yes.
In this very dangerous landscape.
Mm-hmm. That's totally what it's inferred to. It sucks because you learn that right after the movie ends. Like the scenes following in the book like start to like open that up. And I think this is like kind of like the first point in the film, that scene in particular, where like things start hitting the fan a little bit. The Duke is fucking pissed that they try to kill his son. I mean, they had like a Harkonnen soldier that was like droning that hunter killer like in the wall for like weeks before they arrived to Arrakis.
Dead when they find him, right?
Yeah, I think they kill him. Like I think it was just like they killed him there.
They just show his body, and I'm like, that's why I was confused. I thought like the thing worked on its own even after the operator is dead.
Nah, they fucking just murked his ass right there.
He was real dusty looking. I thought he was like a rotting corpse at that point.
Well, I think they're already pretty pale, and I think like them breaking open the wall was like to infer that it was like that's why he was dusty.
That makes sense.
Oh, I got a question to ask you.
Let's do it.
I almost like fucking forgot about this scene for some reason. The revealing of the sandworm when they're out in the ornithopter. I thought like, okay, this is like the scene where it feels like you're on Arrakis, and I want to know what you thought about that because it's fucking epic.
I knew about the sandworms coming into this movie
because it was all over like the trailers and stuff, like the big sandworm and stuff.
Well, I'd only heard about it because for some reason I refuse to watch trailers most of the time. I hate movie trailers, dude. They give too much away.
Actually, I really think that the movie trailer for this movie didn't do that.
I probably avoided it.
It was respectable.
It's really the character design. I guess character might be the wrong word, but the design of the sandworms themselves.
Yeah.
They're very prehistoric. They look like they've lived for thousands of years in the desert.
Which they have.
It's the scale of them that's so impressive. When I think of sandworms, for some reason I always go back to the movie Beetlejuice because there's sandworms in that movie.
Oh, I've never even seen Beetlejuice. I've only ever seen like the first 30 minutes.
I love that movie.
And I watched it with like my girlfriend in 8th grade, and she was like a scene girl.
That's one of my favorite 80s movies. But in that movie, they're like, relatively normally sized. But in this movie, when they finally get on the, I'm just going to call them helicopters. I know what are they really called?
Ornithopters?
Thopters.
An ornithopter.
When they hop on it and like they start to fly away, and then like the ground kind of gives way to the sandworm opening it up. I wasn't sure what I was looking at yet because it's so fucking gigantic.
It like opens up that mouth.
And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of looks like a butthole.
Yeah,
Sorta.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm not criticizing it for that reason.
No discrimination on the sandworms for looking like buttholes.
But God, they are scary. Like, do they play a big role? Well, I guess you're only on the first book.
Well, and here's the other thing. I know more about the sandworms than the movie presents.
Okay.
They're referred to by the Fremen as Shai Hulud. They're called the Maker. God, the ecology of Dune is so dense. Because Frank Herbert, the original writer, was like an environmentalist. Like he was very like
that makes a
big
lot of
into
sense.
Climate change and stuff. And like it plays a role into the way the book is written. And when you're reading the novel, you immediately recognize this man's passion coming. You just get like spit from your jewel.
Yes. Oh my God, it's terrible.
You realize how important like nature and like the functions of the environment are to him. And this movie, like, I don't think it does a great job of kind of describing that because I'm sure it will get touched upon in the second film. God, I really hope it does. But like the worms are so important. And the Fremen like respect them. It's not like they're not
one of the only things you learn about him.
They're not to be feared. They're to be respected. And even Paul in the book like has like a premonition of like he makes comments in his head about the way the Fremen speak about the worms. He's like they're to be respected, not feared.
Is there only one worm?
No. Like
is that just how they refer to like the entire species?
Yes, it's like it's very religious, like the way the Fremen handle, like they're very tribal, like a way to everything. Even like the book opens up after the movie. I'm just now getting to like the density of the way the Fremen handle the desert. Like there are like these customs and like the way they do things.
This first sandworm scene is actually the part of the movie where I thought it was about to click for me. It's where like the tension really started to set in. They have to go rescue this piece of machinery. Whatever's supposed to airlift it out of the desert breaks down, so now they have to like squeeze all these people into the helicopters. I was a little confused by this. Paul
has a vision.
He starts to trip out on the spice. The spice.
Spices in the air.
And then he gets down to the sand compactor thing, and he says, like, "I heard your footsteps, old man." No idea.
Get that?
No idea what he's talking about.
He's talking to Gurney Halleck. Okay, listen. I know you wouldn't pick this up, and I want to.
Well, he did talk about footsteps in the first scene that you see Josh Brolin.
He says, "Don't have your back to the door." He's like, "I can tell by your footsteps." This is to illustrate Paul's like in between. He's having like visions, and he's present. And he says, "I can hear your footsteps, old man." And then Gurney Halleck is like the one like holstering him back to the thopter. It's kind of to show the in-between because later you get to see what his vision was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just to illustrate that Paul's having a vision. And like you get to see it later too, like in the tent. It's super confusing though, right? It was mysterious.
Because I thought he was talking about the sandworm.
No.
I know that sandworms don't have footsteps per se. It's making noise as it approaches, and it's probably a really old species or like organism. So I'm like, I kind of got the vibe that he was like attuned to the sandworms, which he is, I think, shown at the end of the movie.
In what way?
And the scene where like
they're running from it.
They're running from it, and it like pops up and looks at him, and it like retreats.
The retreat was from a thumper.
I don't understand what that is.
Do you? Okay. God, it's so dense. God damn it.
Is that the thing
where they put it in the sand? This is when Dr. Kynes dies.
And it goes...
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like a little canister that's hitting the ground.
Yeah.
That's what a thumper is. And when they approach the rest of the Fremen, Jamis says, "My thumper's the only thing that saved him."
I knew he said that, but for some reason I thought maybe that character was wrong.
I mean, he might. Like, I don't know if it's to illustrate that... I think so the sandworms like work on vibrations, and like we were introduced to that in the scene where they're at rescuing those people because Dr. Kynes is explaining that those sandworms are gonna come regardless. They always come, like they hear the vibrations.
And he's watching like the informational films in his room at certain points too.
Paul and Jessica aren't moving anymore, so then like now the sandworm has nowhere to look. Like there's no noise being made for the sandworm to move. It's approached this rock. Like the sandworms don't have eyes. I
thought it looked at him and like knew that he was the one, and then just like backed off.
I don't think so, because then if that was the case, it wouldn't have tacked the
first time.
Yeah, I mean that's a cool scene. You kind of get to understand the inner workings of the politics that are at play after that, because he tells Dr. Kynes like we've been set up to fail, and it's true they have been set up to fail.
Yeah, but she, who is later on set up as kind of like a hero character, lies to them and says, like, it's just old.
Yes.
And I was confused about that, too.
It's so brief, like, trying to describe her relationship in the film, the way they handle it, but she answers to the Emperor. She's the judge of change. She's the planetary ecologist that answers to the Emperor.
And this is kind of what interested me in her character.
And she's actually a male in the book. And also she dies in a different way in the book.
And she's one of the characters that I'm actually invested in a lot because I think the whole duality of her being Fremen and serving the Emperor, she's kind of like a double agent. Thought that was cool. And then she dies.
Yes. The whole goal of that character was to turn Arrakis into a paradise. obviously the Imperium, like the rest of the galaxy, doesn't want that, because if you do that, the spice goes away, and the spice keeps everything rolling. So now it just becomes this warfare land that these Fremen people are just oppressed. Which, something I wanted to talk about is that there's been criticisms of the film by like the left, and this is this is like super fringe and like not very apparent, but like,
is it the white savior
story? And it's actually like the complete opposite. It's supposed to be like the tribal savior story, like the natives save Paul. Like, Paul's character is actually like a tragic character. Like, his character doesn't have a happy ending, and I know that.
I got this vibe, actually.
Yeah.
I was kind of predicting that he's not what they think he is.
I think he is.
That he squanders it or something, or like he's not ready.
I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, even myself, because I know like certain things that happen in later books. But Paul doesn't buy into his belief that everyone else puts upon him. He's like the god that doesn't even believe in himself, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's super interesting, too.
Paul is not the hero. I think the novels do a better job of kind of displaying that. The tent scene in particular, you kind of get an idea of vaguest way, I'm sure, but he kind of has like this vision of like a war. Oh, dude, it's fucking badass acting, in my opinion.
One of the few times where like his character was starting to click with me, where he showed something more than the stoic coldness that he shows throughout the rest of the film.
You get to see like his fear of like what he's afraid of. If his visions are to become true, that's even more fearful. If Paul is the one, it means he's going to lead these people in a battle for like the throne or whatever, like a fight against the Imperium, against the Sardaukar, Harkonnens and everything. So, and Paul's just a boy, and like he can't handle that weight of war on his conscience. And he even like rejects his mother, like in her trying to
comfort him.
Yes. And he like uses the voice on her, and I'm like, damn, that's badass.
This freaked me out a little bit, where he's like, don't touch me.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking jarring.
The way like the audio is done for the voice is very intimidating.
It's like a blending of like all these voices together. Like the Reverend Mother, even Jessica does it, like when they kill the people in the Thopter, which I don't want to skip over. That scene's fucking badass.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But the voice is like really well done. It feels like otherworldly, very shamanic.
I think it's the scariest when the Reverend Mother tells that weird BDSM ant-looking animal to like get the fuck out of the room.
Yeah. That's not even in the book. But
really?
But it was really cool.
From what I understand, the Baron is like a pedophile that likes young boys, and they couldn't put that in the movie. So they gave him a BDSM animal as like a stand-in.
The Baron is weird. Okay, so the Baron, great character design. Something that really isn't illustrated in other adaptations of the film or like of the novel. What a great performance, and what great like prosthetics.
He's played by Stellan Skarsgård. All his sons are ultra talented too.
Really? Who are his sons?
I can't remember what his first name is, but he played Pennywise in the new It movies, and he's terrifying.
Really? That's his son?
He has 3 sons, and all of them are actors.
Wow. Didn't know that.
This guy is intimidating.
The book refers to these things on his back as suspensors, which are like these things to hoist up his fat-ass body.
That whole aspect of it makes his character all the more creepy. And I'm thinking very specifically of the scene where Oscar Isaac has been poisoned.
He's naked as fuck.
He's been poisoned. He's paralyzed. He's sitting at the end of this very long table. The Baron floats across the table and like drops down to his level. And I think
he kills Dr. Yue too, which also is like super brutal as fuck. And I know we didn't talk about Dr. Yue.
I know that probably in the novels he's treated as more of a character, but in this film he's more of like a plot device.
Yes. You even get like his internal dialogue in the novel.
In this movie, his only 2 scenes before the betrayal are he checks Paul's like vital signs.
Mm-hmm. He like gives medicine for everybody to sleep. He gives everybody like fucking Percocet before they go to bed.
I was wondering what that was. Now, I will say that like his betrayal doesn't feel that impactful because he's kind of a non-character, but they give you a little bit right before he dies. You get the reason why. It's the most loyal betrayal I've ever seen.
It's something that he doesn't want to do. It feels like very tragic. The man has his own reasons, even if it's at the cost of like a bloodline and like thousands of lives. Like this woman's worth more to him. And even in the book, it's like implied that she's already dead, and he may even know that she's already dead, but he just has to see if she's alive or not. Which
okay.
even creates like more of like sadness.
He does give a line of dialogue about how his wife might be in pieces.
They pulled her apart like a doll or like a puppet.
Yeah. I was like, why are you saving her then?
Even in the book, it kind of feels like a plot device, but it's definitely sold to you a little bit better. The Baron, he fucking like cuts his fucking head off.
I think it kind of tells you a lot about the Baron himself, too. The way he strikes deals with people. He'll tell you one thing, but the way he words it is very important.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I will set you and your wife free. And he kind of does the same thing with the Reverend Mother.
They promised not to hurt Paul and his mother. And they said, like, the desert.
Like, she doesn't know they're going to drop him off in the middle of nowhere.
It also plays into his character. Like, he almost fucking forgets who Dr. Yue was. Like, he like makes it seem like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Here you go.
Yeah.
Like, he's not important to him. And even the book does a great job of illustrating, like, how much he doesn't give a fuck. Can I also say that before that, I really loved the way the Duke gets, like, paralyzed. This is such a great illustration of, like, the shields and, like, how they work. The dart is shot into his back, but it's, like, trying to penetrate his shield, and he can do nothing about it. Like, he can't, like, knock the dart free. And then a few moments later, somebody tries to shoot one at Duncan, Idaho, and he, like, knocks it away with a sword, like, as it's trying to penetrate his chest. I'm like, it kind of gives you, like, a little bit of an idea of how it works.
Because I was confused about the shields a little bit. And it confused me why they didn't use guns in this universe, but that kind of explains it. The shields apparently have to work slowly enough to where air particles can get inside of it, which allows a blade to get in if you push it slowly enough.
But you can't use a bullet. Like, a bullet would fly right off. And there's a reason why they don't use shields in the desert, because the vibrations attract the sandworms.
What drugs did Frank Herbert take?
Probably LSD. It's around that 60s. Probably took LSD.
The spice thing in this, this series is very
psychedelic.
Yes. Not saying it's a bad thing.
No, like, just observation.
He was very creative. Like, there's a lot of elements, at play here.
David Bautista plays, like, his nephew.
Bro, Big Dick Dave.
Is that what you referred to him as?
That's what they call him in the wrestling world, apparently.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah.
Kind of a non-part in this movie. I'm assuming he'll be more of a thing.
He might, like, fight in a battle or something, but he hasn't been mentioned a whole lot in the books. But he kind of just plays like a side character. At least I haven't got there yet.
I thought he was kind of being set up as, like, the bloodthirsty warrior.
He's kind of like the anti-Gurney Halleck. And Piter, which he's not I don't know if he's referred to by name, but, like, he's the mentat for the Baron, is, like, the anti-Thufir Hawat, which is, like, the fat, chubby guy. So, like, there's kind of, like, these dynamics, like, each house has, like, a mentat, and, like, they all have, like, these commanders and, like, that lead their armies and stuff. So they're kind of like the complete opposite of them.
You know what I thought?
What?
You got Big Dave, former pro wrestler, and you have Jason Momoa, who looks like he'd be a wrestler. And when I saw they were in the movie, I'm like, I can't wait for these two to fight.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm really sad when Jason Momoa's character dies. It's weird to see him without a beard as well. This is like one of the only movies with him without a beard.
This is the first movie I've ever seen him in.
What?
What else is he in besides Aquaman?
I don't know.
Have you seen Aquaman?
Yeah. The movie's fucking awful.
I liked him in this one, though.
Can I just mention, sidetrack, in Aquaman, there's like this scene that like feels like a complete parody, but it's completely serious, where like he and his love interest are like running around like this island city, like almost like France looking, like very it looks like Luca, like that kind of like architecture. Not sure where the fuck they're at, like almost like Fiji or whatever. And it's playing like the most fucking like, here comes the sun, doo 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 doo, and they're like fucking frolicking around. It's the weirdest fucking shit, and it's like
they play that song in the movie.
I remember like watching that film and being like, what the fuck? Like, I remember I watched it with my family, my stepbrother and everything, and both were like, I thought that was like a parody. Like, I thought like it was gonna be like jokingly like interrupted by like action, and it was fucking weird.
It's a DC movie.
It's fucking awful.
They don't know what they're doing, really.
No, they don't. But
Duncan, honestly, my favorite character.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking cool.
And there's a reason for me. He is the one source of humility, humanness,
yeah,
joy, warmth that you get here.
He gives like good comedic relief.
And I like when they first introduce him and he makes a comment about, you've been gaining muscle. And Timmy Tim says, you think so? And he just goes, no.
Yeah.
When I saw that scene, I was like, I can't wait for the dynamic between these two guys. Like the serious kind of like depressive teenager guy versus very muscle-bound warrior. That's kind of funny. You don't get it, really.
No, and I don't know if you caught this, and I'm sure Gurney Halleck is the one that trains him, like, in that room. And he mentions when he walks in, he's like, since Duncan's on leave, like in the A-team to Arrakis or whatever, I'll be training you instead as a weapons master. So, like,
okay.
there was already, like, there was already a friendship because, like...
Damn it.
Duncan,
I wanted to see that.
Yeah, you don't get to see that. But that's not even in the books. It's a good way, though, to, like, give Duncan's character importance because when he dies in the book, it doesn't feel like as a big, like, hit to Paul. But since the movie's cut in, like, part 1 and 2, it kind of, like, gives you a sense of loss for Paul's character and stuff. So, fuck, what do I want to talk about?
Can we talk about how weird of a name Duncan, Idaho is?
Yeah.
In space? I knew there had to be some relation to Earth.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how Earth plays in this universe,
I don't either.
Or if it does play at all.
Frank Herbert's son, Brian, like, ended up writing prequels for, like, the main series. I'm sure touch more into, like, humanity and stuff, but, like, he covers, like, a book on, like, the war with machines and stuff that dates back thousands of years ago. Because, like, this film, like, opens up with, like, year 10,000 something. That's 8,000 years from now. So it's just, like,
yeah,
who knows? I don't know why. I think that's, like, been a discussion amongst, like, fans for years of, like, why his name is Duncan, Idaho. Maybe it has to do with, like,
just an interesting choice.
Is Idaho, was that a name of, and obviously Idaho, the state, but, like, was it a Native American tribe?
You know what?
And I think that's why it plays in, because he's the one that goes and seeks out the Fremen and becomes embedded with them. I think that's why it plays importance.
So it may not even be, like, his real name. Like, it might be, like, a moniker of some sorts.
Yeah, or just, like, to illustrate, like, in a way that his character, like, because he goes and seeks out the Fremen and becomes the advanced team, he befriends the Fremen and, like, introduces Stilgar to the Duke and stuff. Like, I think his character, maybe he's named that to be, like, the in-between between natives and, like, civilization. I don't know. That's me digging. I don't know. With a scene where Paul and Jessica wake up in the Thopter,
yes,
I found super amazing. Like,
one of my favorites. Yes,
you kind of get to see, like, the power of Jessica now. Like, she's now got, you kind of get to see, like, her powers unleashed, like, her importance, and, like, why, like, the Bene Gesserit, like, are worried about Paul learning these abilities and stuff.
Is it trying to show that if your mouth is covered or, like, obstructed in some way, the voice doesn't work?
She can't speak with that, like, tape over her mouth.
So you have to speak to make the voice.
Yes.
Okay.
They're saying, like, we don't have to kill them. We can just drop them off in the desert right here, and, like, we could face a truth sayer. We didn't say we killed them, you know.
Great scene. One of the few parts of the movie where I felt tension personally. It just really felt like they were in danger for the first time to me. I thought she might die right here.
For sure.
I know Paul's okay. It just plays out in an interesting way. But I'm confused because they make a big deal about one of the guards being deaf.
Because she can't speak to him. Can't hear the voice.
I feel like that should have made more sense to me. They make that deaf character really despicable with 30 seconds of screen time, too. Because he's acting like he's about to,
yeah, he's like,
you know.
They're not very attractive looking people. They look like fucking orcs almost, like with fucking human faces, which I think helps tie into their repulsiveness. Yeah, this is like when we get to open up into the desert.
This is where they meet up with Dr. Kynes.
Yeah.
And Duncan comes back into the picture for a little bit. This is honestly my favorite part of the movie, I think, where they, like, meet up at that old ecology center. And, like, you're kind of getting some more information to fill in what you might have been missing up until this point.
I really love how the Fremen are portrayed. They're all doing this thing called coffee service, which they're, like, spitting, and then to the top of this, like, coffee ground thing, which is funny because, like, their moisture plays such a big deal. Their body's water. Like, it's like an asset. Yeah, so they're, like, making up coffee with their spit, which is kind of gross, but...
Hey, it's survival. You know?
Bro, they need some coffee. It's important.
I would do it, too.
Yeah, I know.
I like my coffee.
I was just about to say, you'd do that shit. Fucking white boy. you get like a good insight of how the Fremen fight. And I know it's kind of like brushed upon at the beginning where like they bust out of the sand and kill some of the Harkonnens in like the opening scene narrated by Zendaya. But like getting to see them underneath the sand, like they're hiding underneath the sand, and as the Sardaukar are walking over them, they fucking kick up the sand and fucking start clashing swords. Yeah, I love this scene. And you kind of get an insight of like Dr. Kynes as well. She wants to help Paul because, you know, she sees like the Lisan al-Gaib, like the Kwisatz Haderach in like before her, but she doesn't want to like totally believe it yet. But then like he says like, I know you lost a warrior in battle. Like he gives like, he's like, I know things that I shouldn't know, kind of giving her like that.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
So then she starts to like believe a little bit more. And then I think like the Sardaukar like fucking bust in, like, and we get to see like Duncan Idaho fight and die and shit.
Yeah, I think I was being sold on the Duncan character by the time this happened. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I like this guy.
It's badass.
Now he's dead.
Yeah. Which sucks.
My 2 favorite characters, bro.
Yeah. She also like they kind of talk about like Paul making a play for the throne. Paul's doing this because he doesn't want like war to break out between all the houses and stuff.
It shows the naive nature of a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, the Emperor has daughters, like they're single, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll fuck my way to power.
I think he was just illustrating that. I don't know if he's like trying to say that he would fuck his way to the throne, but I'm thinking he's saying like he would give the Emperor an ultimatum, saying like, I will expose what happened here, or you can hand me the throne. Like you can either have war under your belt, or you can quench the fire by handing me the keys to the empire, kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't know if he was saying I'm gonna fuck this
Well, I don't mean
bitch.
literally. Just like marry into power, like
Yeah.
you might become like a stooge of some sort, or like I don't know.
I don't think that's what was implied, but I know your fucking dirty ass little white head is fucking going that way. Yeah, I mean, Duncan dies. It's fucking big sad. Fucking beardless Jason Momoa dies. He also like pulls a fucking sword out of his chest, which I was like, okay.
Yeah, wouldn't that kill you?
Yeah, you would die. Actually, the sword would be like the thing like keeping your blood from spilling out.
I don't question it because
It was badass.
it's it's badass and it's science fiction. I'm just like, all right, I'm rolling with the punches right now.
Fucking hate that everybody we like dies. It's like kind of like a Game of Thrones type of deal.
Yeah, my 2 favorite characters, man. It kind of heads into the home stretch here. I know you get some survival stuff like them in the desert for
We talked about
a
like
few minutes.
the worm and everything, but we get to see like the final kind of like scene with the Fremen. It kind of illustrates like the confusion of the whole film right here too, because like there are like these customs that we don't know about that like the Fremen are discussing around Paul. Yeah, I mean I really love this scene and it's really cool, but like I appreciate it now like that I've read into it. Like I literally read this scene and like read past it and like all that.
Is Stilgar an actual character from the novel?
Yes. And it's like nice to envision Stilgar as that actor. He's
Fucking Javier Bardem.
yeah, he's badass.
Dude, Oscar winner.
He's fucking an absolute fucking G. He's really great in this film.
I was worried about this at first. When they first meet up with the Fremen, I thought they were about to like,
Do battle.
well, not do battle. I thought they were going to like start praising Paul. Everybody would be a believer. I'm glad it didn't go in that direction.
No, even the books are like, imagine meeting Jesus, right? In the like in the fucking New Testament, they're like, not everybody believes Jesus is the Son of God until he starts doing miracles and shit. So it's kind of like that same thing where Paul's got to like prove his way. And this is something that I don't understand yet, and I don't know why it was in the film because it's not really something that's been discussed in the book at all. But like Jamis is one of the like visions that Paul has. Jamis has shown Paul like certain ways of the desert like in the future, like through Paul's visions and stuff. But Paul kills Jamis before any of that happens. And I don't know if it's to illustrate that not all of Paul's visions come true, or if they were a future that happened that didn't come to be in the present because of Jamis's choices. I think it's kind of like an alternate fucking reality for fucking Paul.
We got the Dune multiverse.
Yeah, like some fucking Inception shit. It was just super confusing.
I liked their fight scene.
It really does like a good job of illustrating how the Fremen work, like how they do things, because Paul doesn't want to kill Jamis, but Jamis is ready to fucking kill Paul.
Paul has him by the neck like 2 or 3 times.
Asking him to yield. They don't yield. And that's something that is talked about in the books is like, this is like disrespectful. This is something that you wouldn't do in their customs. Stilgar says, is he toying with him? Mm-hmm. And Jessica responds with, Paul has never killed a man.
That line is one of the few emotional gut punches that I had in the movie, because I knew that this young boy was about to like transcend into something else, and he wasn't ready to do it.
I don't know if you caught on this dialogue that was like being the vision he has at the wall before the fight. You're getting like that Bene Gesserit, Reverend Mother type of sound. And you're getting like that imagery of the blood, Paul dying and stuff. She says like Paul Atreides has to die for the Kwisatz Haderach to rise. And it says like
killing someone
kills you. It's like to illustrate that you have to kill this man.
Harry Potter stole this idea with the Voldemort thing.
Oh, dude, I remember being fucking like mind fucked by that when I was younger.
You got to kill somebody; it splits your soul into pieces.
For Paul to become like this transcendent leader, he's gonna have to kill this man, like figuratively and like physically. Like you're gonna have to kill this man if you want to live, and then like if you kill this man, it'll play into your role of God, godhood or whatever the fuck. Also, like killing this man is gonna kill part of you, and you're gonna have to like live with that now.
Now, apparently, Paul kills Jami, kills him with a bullfighter technique.
Damn, I really didn't pick up on that. I was fucking smart. Look at you.
Reddit, dude.
Reddit is
I'm not
shit.
smart.
Other people are smart.
Praise the internet. The movie just kind of ends after this.
Yeah. I know you saw this last imagery, but someone's riding the worm at the end.
See, I didn't see that.
What? You didn't see that?
I didn't see it.
So when Dr. Kynes dies, when she gets stabbed in the back, she has those hooks out and she's calling a worm.
I kind of got the idea that
she's
she was
about to
waiting.
ride the worm.
Yeah.
The worms are to be respected, not feared, bro.
But I didn't physically see it at the end. Is this in the last shot where they're walking away?
Shot.
How did I miss that?
It like zooms in on that fucking writing.
What the fuck?
Because you're fucking scrolling through Reddit, goddammit. You're just a forgetful little white boy.
What's up with this white boy thing?
I don't know. I started calling you white boy when I was drunk on vacation, and now you're white boy.
Not sure how much this is going to stick, but we'll see.
It's going to fucking stick like fucking shit to the wall, bro. Yeah, it kind of sucks that the movie ends here, because I'm like, I remember in theaters while watching it, I was like, what? That's it? I'm like, I'm ready for like the next.
It feels like it's starting to really pick up around this point.
And it's like, fuck you, motherfucker.
Ballsy move.
I think the fandom agrees that this is a great spot to end the film, though, if you're going to split it like that. I follow like this one YouTuber that's like really into Dune and like has done like many video essays, like hours long on all the different books, all the characters, yada, yada, yada. And he had like a live discussion, I remember, like the weekend it came out, and it's just saying like, this seems to be like a good spot to end the movie. I'm just like, I have 170 something pages left to go in the book. I'm like on part 3 of the book. Literally, it opens up like it's split into 3 acts. I'm on the third, like I'm about ready to start the 3rd act. I'm really excited for like where it goes next. And when I finish the book, I might come to you and be like, is this going to be a good second part? I'm upset that I don't get more, but I think it was really good at like planting the seed of excitement for the next film. We didn't talk about it too much, but like I love the special effects and I loved the soundtrack. I hope Hans Zimmer returns for the second part, and I'm enthralled in the world and I have the book to accompany me, but that's my perspective. I mean, what are your final thoughts? I'm
not sure if I'm ready to go into final thoughts yet.
Oh shit, okay.
I kept back some critiques throughout the review.
Yeah. My bad.
I don't want to come across as like a negative Nancy, because I had a lot of fun talking about the movie, like the aspects, like the lore, the way that things were presented, but I don't think it translated during my watching experience.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think maybe this is just proof that I might need to read the book at some point. Like, I'm interested in this world, but the movie itself didn't sell me on the characters themselves. And I know I'm going to go back to that whole cold thing. Nobody ever talks to each other in a human way. They're always relaying plot dialogue. It's never like, here's a conversation and you can like weed out the plot details in the middle of it. It's like straight 100% dialogue progressing stuff.
kind of ties back into like Dune is unfilmable type of mentality.
Yes. And it probably hurts me that the night before I watched this, I've been watching Tarantino movies, which are filled with dialogue.
Great dialogue, yeah. Those are like more slow burn dialogue.
Just fucking monologue on top of monologue. In Dune, it's relatively short. There is a lot of talking.
It's short and dense, like short and rich. Like every word is like a fucking line of poetry that you need to like read over like 2-3 times to like understand the meaning behind it.
I think it led to me having a hard time identifying like character traits or like how these characters are, like how they relate to each other. It felt like a lot of spectacle with not a lot of heart.
I can totally get behind that. And a lot of my enjoyment comes from the book as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have that perspective going into it. I'm okay with spectacle. And that's just me.
I like spectacle.
I mean, I knew when I watched the movie that it wasn't going to be... I just knew it wasn't going to be super gripping as far as like characters and like maybe it wouldn't feel like themes were pushed through all the way 100% like to their full completion. And I definitely feel that way. The bull matador stuff, you literally just uncovered like, oh, Paul kills him with a bull fighting technique. I'm like, oh, like I didn't pick up on that. It wasn't something that was like, I didn't get beat over the head with it like I mean, yes, I was beat over the head with it through the movie, but like I didn't have that aha moment. The book is great. It's a book. Like books are different than film. I thought the film was fun. It kind of felt like there's a tip of the iceberg, unfinished quality about it. It just feels like the sketch and like you're not painting yet. And like it just feels like we're laying the groundwork. Maybe the second film will feel like this big climactic oomph. Again, like Fellowship of the Ring is not... Dude, Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings, like it's fun and like there's great character, like good character dialogue and like it's super interesting. Special like effects or practical effects are amazing. Like everything's great. But it's also like the plot is like super dry. They're literally just going to like set up the Fellowship. Like there's like a lot of lore. It's just like the same thing. Like, I don't think anybody like is like the Fellowship of the Ring is the best Lord of the Rings movie. I think everybody would agree that like it's just one big book.
I think it's just the Denis style of filmmaking. This art house style doesn't translate to a gigantic epic franchise. Like personally, in your opinion, do you think this is like a mass commercial thing that's going to catch on?
No. And I thought it might be before I watched it. I was like, I really hope like pop culture gets behind this and like they make a bunch of merchandise and like it becomes like things that everybody like gets into.
Doesn't
that's
feel
not
like
the
that.
case. No.
It's good and bad in some ways. The good is it doesn't feel like a company making a movie. Like
it doesn't feel like a Marvel like a Star Wars film
where like they might put in a character because this guy's going to sell a lot of action figures. You know, I can't see too many Dune action figures.
They have them, but they're not like fucking.
They're not selling like hotcakes.
They're not for kids. They're like for adults to collect. Like it is very art house. I mean, that's a good way to describe it. And maybe, you know, I like it for that reason because I can like be like I can appreciate being confused as fuck. Like I mean, I'm okay with that. The way it was kind of advertised though, that it was going to be like this big sci-fi epic. But like when it really came down to it, like the action was more hand-to-hand combat. I mean, like there was like a few fucking explosions, which was cool when it happened, but it wasn't like the focus of the story at all. Like it was literally just part of the betrayal.
Normally, I'm a huge fan of the art house style, but I don't think it lends itself to something that where you're only getting a part of a story. With Arrival, he did the same exact thing with Arrival.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
kind of a cold movie, but like it's wrapped up with a fucking bow at the end, you know?
Movie about makes me cry. Like I fucking love that film.
That one's a little bit more emotional than this, but a lot of it's kind of cold in a way.
Yeah, no, but it is wrapped up in an emotional way in the end.
His movies have that Christopher Nolan pacing where like it feels like it's constantly moving with no chance to breathe, kind of no chance for things to sink in. And like with Nolan, it works a lot of the time. But with this one, it felt like everything had the same tempo, regardless of if a battlefield was exploding and people were dying or people were just sitting and talking.
It definitely did have that kind of feel to it.
It might have something to do with the music too, because the music is so constant from scene to scene.
I always feel like there's a constant drum beat going.
Yeah, or like a droning ambient tone or chanting. I love the soundtrack.
I do too, but
Don't get me wrong.
I'm in the same boat. It almost feels like there isn't enough variation in the soundtrack from scene to scene. Like,
Yes.
one scene can try to be emotional and like painful, but it's the same beat as like something that's uplifting, or if like something's ominous. It all just kind of like blends together. And I'm a fucking Hans Zimmer dick rider. Like, I'm on that shit. Like, I'll fucking cry to some fucking Hans Zimmer. Like, give me fucking Kung Fu Panda 2 Hans Zimmer. I'll fucking cry like a grown-ass man. But in this film, while like I thought it was super interesting and like it is unlike any other film I have ever seen, the only thing that comes close to Hans Zimmer's work is like, I would say, Prince of Egypt. That is the only thing that comes like thematically close and like stylistically close to this movie, that in his same body of work. A lot of like female vocals and like very tribal, like obviously that's like Egyptian, but
I love the drony stuff in the soundtrack more than I like the female chanting. I thought there's a few points where like I'm gonna fucking do a impression here where it's like yeah. There's a few points where it comes in. Yes.
yeah, perfect. Thank you. Fucking sampling that shit for my next Kanye track.
I'm about to get a phone call from Hans Zimmer. He's gonna be like, I need you. There's a few points where that comes in and it doesn't feel appropriate. When Dr. Kynes gets stabbed and her like body is rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
As soon as it happens, you get the I was like, that was weird.
yeah.
But like for the most part, yeah, it's an excellent soundtrack. The bagpipes, the military style percussion, the droning tones. It's so dramatic. So fucking dramatic, but like in the best way. That might be all my thoughts right there. I don't know. I might be missing something.
I think the one thing that we didn't really talk about a whole lot, but the special effects feel super grounded. They really take on like this beautiful transition from concept art to actual like final render. I used to be really into concept art and like a lot of like vehicle design. Like, this is something like in my adolescence that like I thought I would do for a living. I wanted to design vehicles for movies and shit. Doing like XYZ drawings, like perspective drawings of vehicles. And I was like a huge fan of like all these YouTubers that I would watch that was a lot of industrial design. And I really thought I could see the concept art come into what the original thought was supposed to be, because I think a lot of times what happens with concept art is it gets taken and then it gets like that Hollywood fucking flair on it. And I really thought it was super grounded. Like, all these vehicles had amazing, like the Thopters specifically. I'm like, oh my God, like I was fucking having a little art boy orgasm over the fucking ornithopters. I'm like, even like when they would take off, the way the wings would flap, you could do that like easy, no problem. But they didn't even cheapen the effect. Like, there's one specific spot, like these things are moving at like hundreds of miles an hour, like buzzing back and forth, like these little flaps.
It's like Dragonfly inspired.
Yes.
It's the exact same thing.
But you could see like the gloss glittered in throughout from the sun beating on these wings. Like, they were like little tiny little specks of gloss like reflecting off of the sun. And I'm like, that's like the fucking icing on the cake, man. All the effects didn't feel cheap. They were like crisp and natural looking. And then like they didn't feel like they had this big Hollywood flair in a way where like things get cheap. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, even with like the shield, like the fucking missile dropping into the shield and exploding, it could have looked super cheap, but it just looked so clean. Like, the ship rises out of the water on Caladan and all the little water starts falling out of these little ports in the ship. The fucking physics simulation on that was just fucking beautiful. It reminded me so much of like Arrival, but just like cranked to 100.
I hope that he becomes so much more prolific.
Yeah.
He like is like a trendsetter in a way. I want other movies to take this as an example for special effects.
If you watch Blade Runner 2049 eventually,
it's on the list.
It's fucking masterful, the direction that the art takes in that movie. I don't think this is a masterful, like, masterpiece movie, but he does all the things that I like from Denis Villeneuve. And it's like, to me, it's like his B movie that's an epic, but I'm like, I'm here for it because I'm a fan.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like, I'm super biased in that way. I'm going to give the movie an 8 out of 10 because I enjoy it, but it's not perfect.
I will go with a strong 7.
And
I
that's
think.
super fair. I knew this movie would test your patience. And it tested mine. Like, it tested mine. And I'm in fucking love with this movie in a way. I'm super enthralled by this world. But it's pretty cold and, like, dry. But also beautiful and epic.
It's hard to judge half a story.
And this is also true.
The movie doesn't have, like, a full arc, really, to me. You have other Part 1 movies. Kill Bill.
Oh, yeah. That's a good fucking movie.
Doesn't finish the whole story, but it's like a, you know, a
good,
perfectly
solid Part
Act
1,
1,
yeah.
2, 3 type of movie. But yeah, it's I am interested in seeing the second one because, like, maybe combined they'll be like this expertly crafted masterpiece, you know.
Or it may not. It may be like straight up like the first one, which would suck.
If
but
it was
also,
the exact same, it would hurt the first one too.
yeah. Let's hope he fucking gets it.
We just can't judge it till that comes out, I guess.
I eagerly anticipate your recommendation
And you will get it
after you pee.
after I pee.
I gotta pee first though.
Piss break.
Give me some fucking white boy spiel.
So Austin,
So Austin. Okay, I'm sorry. Go
fuck
ahead.
you, homie.
Hey, whoa,
You're coming back here, mocking me, calling me white boy.
It was that alcoholic fucking confidence that I gained on fucking vacation that's just bleeding over into my daily life now.
You were calling me white boy, but also one night you texted me and said, "You're the fucking shit." So
You are the fucking shit.
I'll take the best of two worlds.
White boy is not to be discriminatory. It's mostly to be like, you my white boy. It's kind of like you my neighbor kind of thing.
It makes me think of that Tom McDonald song where he's
Who?
like, you know.
Oh, God. Fuck. No. You fucking made me listen to that shit, and it's
Yeah.
fucking atrocious.
And ever since then, you've been calling me white boy.
White boy.
He literally goes, white boy, white boy.
It's so dumb.
It's horrible.
It's like the bad version of Hobson, and even that's terrible. But continue.
Oh my God, you're right.
It's like fucking Republican Hobson.
You're so fucking right.
All right, go ahead.
Our last episode, we reviewed Transatlanticism by Death Cab for Cutie.
Yeah.
And you told me that the album was kind of vanilla. And I made a comment to you, and I said, watch yourself, because I'm going to fucking recommend something kind of difficult. So here we are. And it kind of ties in perfectly with what I've been doing lately. Playing Demon Souls and shit.
Oh,
a very
God.
challenging game. You know, the game beats you down. And I think the band I'm about to recommend kind of has those characteristics as well.
Oh, God.
And you had a sneak peek into what they sound like because you heard me playing them in my car. And I rolled my window down and you were like, what are you listening to? Like, and I wouldn't tell you.
I was like, you sound like you're fucking killing somebody in there. Like,
You said you heard children screams.
that is what I said, yeah.
And that's not quite, maybe from outside the car. It sounded like that.
Jesus Christ.
So I'm going to give you the choice. I'm kind of hoping you pick one, but I'm going to let you choose your own path. Album A is aggressive. It's primal.
Children screaming.
They're both long records, but you're getting aggression and this like primal human condition shit.
Okay.
Album B is kind of the same, but it's toned down a little bit, and there's like some post-rock and folky and droney elements to it.
Album B.
Okay, good. That's the one I want you to choose.
I don't want no angsty shit unless it's brought upon by melancholy.
You've seen this record, not this record, but you've seen album A in this house before.
Is it the one with the fucking baby on the front?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Album A was To Be Kind by Swans. Album B is their previous record before that. It's 2012's The Seer.
The Seer by the Swans.
And it's very critically acclaimed. It was one of the most highly rated records of the year it came out, but it is challenging.
Okay.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You're making me afraid.
And I might give you a taste of it tonight, maybe.
Let's do psychedelics. Let's do some DMT and listen to this shit.
Weirdly enough, it kind of sounds like some stuff that could soundtrack like the Dune movie.
Okay. Hell yeah.
It's got that kind of
Flair to it.
tribal
Fuck yeah.
stuff to it in a way.
This is different. We haven't done anything that's like super like fringe in a while as far as like records go. So this will be pretty fun.
I also haven't challenged you.
It's been a while. You fucking challenged me with like Abbey Road, so it's time to like fucking take a step up. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I thought like your challenging record was like the JPEG.
Oh, it definitely was for sure. I'm like a huge JPEG fan now, so maybe I'll come around on this one even if I don't like it.
Swans are very groove oriented, and their music is hypnotic.
Let's do it.
I can't wait to see what your reaction is to it. Even if you hate it.
I'm gonna be like, what the fuck, white boy?
Even if you come here and give it like a 0 out of 10, like I will be so happy.
Hell yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I want to make you suffer, boy. All right, that sounds fun. Fuck yeah. You ready to kick off my seasonal depression is what it sounds like.
Sure.
Fuck yeah. All right, let's do it. Give these guys the old Hispanic outro.
Adios.